dobrodošli na našu sesiju za danas, a to je masterclass Univerziteta LUISS iz Rima. Danas imamo priliku da čujemo malo više o inovativnim programima Univerziteta LUISS i na koji način su oni sprovedeni u delu od ove godine. Dakle, u pitanju su dvogodišnji master programi i zašto je dobra ideja da upravo ova vrsta programa bude vaš izbor za master studije. Danas su sa nama i predstavnici Univerziteta LUISS koji će prvobitno predstaviti programe u uvodnom delu, a nakon toga će profesor Univerziteta LUISS održati kratak master klas gdje će objasniti šta se to tačno uči tokom ovih interesantnih programa Digital Marketing i Strategic Management. Hi Ludovica, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I'm switching on my camera right now. Hope you can see me properly.
Yes, welcome to our session. Thank you for being part of it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I hope our students joined the session and they can hear us well. I see some confirmation. So yes, the floor is yours. I made a short introduction in the local language, and now you can proceed in English and introduce the programs.
Okay, thank you so much. So, hello everyone. I'm trying to share my screen right now. Hope you can see it. Can you see it?
Yes, just make it a full screen and then you can start. Great.
Okay, thanks a lot. So, hello everyone. I am Ludovica Serafini. I am the program manager of the marketing digital program in LUISS, and I will be here just to briefly introduce the two master programs and to leave then the floor to Professor Pocherlev. So LUISS University is a top private university in Italy, and it's specialized in social science. It's a relatively small campus in the capital city of Italy, and it has a lot of networks and partnerships with the business community, thanks to their relationship with Confindustria. LUISS University is basically #1 in Italy among the private universities, and it is in the top 25 university for the Department of Political Science, according to the QS ranking. So it's one of the top classified universities in Europe and in the world. LUISS has 4 departments: economics and finance, business and management, political science, as I was saying before, and law. And it has a 0% rate abandon, so it's actually quite a white fly. Also, it provides you with 55 double degree programs, and it has a 94% of employed alumni after the graduation. So as you can see, the numbers are quite interesting. The two programs that I'm presenting you today are the Master in Marketing and in Strategic Management, Digital. These programs are already available in a residential mode, but we decided after an important and deepened scouting that there was the urgent need to grasp some opportunities to cover underexploited areas, like the digital one. They have a 3-pronged value proposition because our digital programs follow advanced learning modalities, because we will provide you with project-based, research-based, and characterizing courses that I will explain you later on in the presentation, together with the contribution with professionals coming from the alumni LUISS, but also other professionals in the job market. We want you to be engaged in the so-called on-live digital learning, which is a mix of collaborative activities, high interaction, and the use of an advanced edtech solution, which is Canvas. And also we will provide you with a flexible and personalized course, thanks to the combination of a synchronous mode of teaching that will offer you a live experience with professor and TAs, and the asynchronous mode that will give you some space for flexible learning at your own pace and at your own convenience. Moreover, your overall learning journey will be highly personalized with the support of the whole teaching team. Okay. As I was saying before, the digital programs include 3 course types. During the first semester, you will follow research-based courses that are a mix of synchronous and asynchronous courses aimed at providing you with theoretical and methodological foundations. Then during the second and third semester, you will be engaged in project-based courses that are a mix of synchronous and asynchronous teaching, focusing on project works together in groups or on an individual base to allow you to put into practice what you have learned so far during the first semester. And then last but not least, we will provide you with characterizing courses that are fully asynchronous teaching with the support of a tutor, a teaching assistant. And they are aimed at providing specialized content. And you will be engaged in that during the first and the second semester of your learning journey. All of these 3 courses will leverage the participation of practitioners to enhance the real life relevance of topics. Now I will show you briefly the course plan. As you can see, for marketing and strategic management, the first semester is quite similar because we would like you to have a common background to start. And in fact, you will be taught qualitative and quantitative methods for management, including the study of tools and instruments that are useful for doing the analysis, market analysis, and so on and so forth. And then you will deep dive into the key topics in today marketing and strategic management, with also a focus on individual decision-making and behavioral strategy. Then later on, you will be provided with more specialized content. As you can see, the real differences come from the second and the third semester. And in fact, in particular, during the third semester, you will be able to choose between 3 elective courses. They are highly specialized for what you would like to do in your life. So I hope this brief presentation was exhaustive as well. Feel free to contact us on the email digitalprograms@luiss.it. And now I leave the floor to Professor Pogelev for his masterclass. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ludovica. So, Professor, can you, okay, you're on the session. Welcome again. We are very glad to have you on this masterclass and explaining future students their possibilities if they decide to start the digital master programs at LUISS. The floor is yours, so whenever you feel ready, we can start.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Before we start the masterclass, let me just give you a few words about myself. I graduated from Bocconi University almost 17 years ago. Then I did a master and PhD in marketing and in consumer neuroscience at Erasmus University in Rotterdam. And since 2017, I'm here at LUISS in the Rome campus, doing research, teaching courses at the bachelor and master level. I'm also teaching MBA, executive and master courses at the business school, where I'm also a director of the master in retailing, e-commerce, and omnichannel. I'm a regular TED speaker. I publish in top marketing and neuroscience journals like Journal of Marketing Research, Journal of Advertising, Psychology and Marketing, just to mention a few. And on top of that, I'm also working as a marketing research consultant for some important Italian and international companies. I'm also teaching at the Temple University, Philadelphia, a marketing course and a leadership course at a bachelor level. You can find my email in case you have some questions or you want to have a quick chat with me. So the topic that I will be talking about today is consumer neuroscience and how we can use neuroscience to access the black box of consumer behavior. This is the brief agenda for the lecture. First, I will introduce you to the marketing 2.0. I will show you how to conduct a marketing research. I will present you with the traditional marketing methods. And finally, I will close with the most innovative neuromarketing methods and metrics that we can use in order to access consumers' mind and generate actionable insights that marketers can implement to improve their marketing actions. First, let me start by saying that we are all consumers. We consume all the time. Even now, we are consuming a service, but we also consume brands, we consume products, we consume also events. When we do that, we exhibit some patterns, some consumption patterns. Let me give you some examples. The European Union country with the highest consumption per capita of cigarettes is Greece. Highest consumption per capita of red wine is Portugal. Beer is Czech Republic, and chocolate is Switzerland. However, these are patterns that are quite predictable, I would say, and to be honest, you don't need a specific marketing research in order to infer them. However, nowadays, marketeers are dealing with new products, new services. I've shown you some examples here. By the way, these are all projects that I'm working on, such as insect-based food, self-driving cars, influencer marketing, service robots, and artificial intelligence that nowadays you can find in very different sectors, industry sectors. And because of this, now it's more challenging and more difficult to uncover these consumption pattern, and consequently more difficult to predict consumption behavior. In order to do that, we also use new methods and new metrics that can allow us to access consumer brain. Generally speaking, we have we as marketeers, we have something that is called marketing information system. And this is basically the system that we use in order to generate these actionable insights that allow us to have a control over our marketing actions, that allows us to kind of make consumption behavior more predictable. The four main sources of information that feeds the marketing information system are internal company data, marketing intelligence, acquired databases, and finally, market research. I will focus on market research or marketing research because this is the only source of primary research data that feeds your marketing information system. So when we conduct marketing research, both in academia, but also when I work with companies, we always start with the first step, which is the definition of the research problem. And believe me, this is most of the time the most time-consuming part of the process, because scientists, academic people, and company managers, we speak different languages. So our goal here is to find a common language, and usually we do that by translating the language of the company managers into our language. So once we do that, once we define the company research problem, we move to the second step, which is the step in which we determine the research design. And in this lecture, I will briefly focus on this step. Broadly speaking, generally speaking, we have three types of research analysis, usually in my academic research, but also when I work with companies, I always start with a qualitative research that allows me to kind of understand better what I deal with, to uncover the latent variables, the hidden constructs that can describe the phenomenon that we are interested in. Once we do that, then with the results from this qualitative analysis, we move to the next step, which is the quantitative one, in which we kind of try to generalize this problem or generalize the latent variables that we have uncovered in the qualitative part. And finally, with this knowledge, we are able to kind of design our marketing communication campaign. But before we actually put all this into the market, we first do a neuromarketing research, which is the topic of this lecture, a neuromarketing research that allows us to predict the impact of our marketing actions. So to say, a neuromarketing that allows us to understand whether our marketing actions will allow us to achieve our marketing objectives. So what is neuromarketing? Probably some of you are encountering this term for the first time. Neuromarketing is a hybrid field. It's like, you imagine it as a cocktail between a neuroscience, a psychology, and economics. It's a relatively new field, research field. Relatively new, I mean, it's already been there for 25 years, but it's still, compared to the other three, is relatively new. But it has seen an exponential growth in the past, let's say, 10 years. And the main reasons for that are two. The first one is that the tools, the neuromarketing, the neuroscience tools have become faster, cheaper, and better in the past 10 years, thanks to the technological advancements. And this made possible for us as researchers to move out from laboratory settings and start testing consumers in real settings, in settings in which they actually experience products and services. The second major reason for the exponential growth of neuromarketing, both in academic and practical settings, is that the modern consumer, the 21st century consumer, is barely making rational, controlled, conscious, and fully informed choices. Actually, 99% of the choices and decisions that we make, including me, including you, every single day, every single minute, are driven by unconscious processes. Of course, I don't have time to prove you that now in 20 minutes, but for those of you that will decide to come to LUISS and have me as a teacher, I will prove you with your own choices, with your own decisions. I will prove you that 99% of the decisions that you make are irrational and suboptimal ones. For now, you just need to know that traditional self-reported marketing research techniques allows us to access only 10% of what you know and what you do. They allows us to access your conscious mind, things like willpower, logical thinking, long-term memory that you barely use in your everyday decision-making. The rest of it, the 90%, is your unconscious mind, things like beliefs, emotions, habits, values, imagination, proactive reactions, gut feeling if you want. And this information we can only access with neuromarketing measures and metrics. Broadly speaking, when we evaluate or where we try to predict the effectiveness of our marketing communication, we use four main constructs: attention, emotion, memory, and purchase intention. So, of course, apart from these four, especially when I work with companies, they're interested also in other key constructs, in other key measures. But these four, you will always find these four in every project that you will be working on: attention, emotion, memory, and purchase intention. Why is that the case? Of course, I will show you why these four processes are considered the basic key constructs in marketing communication. And they are almost like 100% among the key marketing objectives of every marketing action. If now I ask you what you saw, I mean, if I ask you to kind of recall a brand, a product, do I measure your attention or your memory? Some of you would say you measure our attention. Some others will say you measure our memory. The reality and the truth is that I measure both, because you need to pay attention to something in order to recall it later. However, as you can already see, these are two different words. They have different meanings. They describe different processes. Unfortunately, with self-reported traditional marketing measures, we cannot distinguish between them. If I ask you, can you recall something? With your answer, I'm basically measuring both of them simultaneously, attention and memory. And as you can imagine, this is a problem for us as researchers. Self-reported measures cannot distinguish between the different processes, by the way, that are very distinct from each other also on temporal level. I mean, attention precedes memory by far in most of the cases. So attention, which is, by the way, the first construct that we are interested in, also chronologically on a temporal scale, attention we can measure with a neuromarketing instrument that is called a night tracker. Nothing fancy. A night tracker is just this little device that we attach at the bottom of your computer screen, a device that emits an infrared light. I mean, it's infrared, so we cannot see it, but it emits this infrared light that is then reflected by our eyes. And every time when we move our eyes, and every time when we fixate on a different element or different region on the screen, this infrared light is reflected by our eyes, and then the information is registered and analyzed by the same device that emits this infrared light. So with this small device, we can basically detect every single movement of your eyes, which, by the way, allows us to measure your visual behavior in a direct way. Broadly speaking, we have two major types of eye tracking devices, a stationary one and a mobile one. Of course, each of these two devices has its strengths and its weaknesses. More about this in the lecture that I will do at the business school. Of course, this eye tracking tool can help us visualize these results, attention results in different ways. Probably the most important output, the most important visual tools that the eye tracker delivers are the so-called heat maps. Heat maps that represent the amount of fixations that each element or each region on each region or each element of a marketing communication receives. Let me give you an example. This is a print ad of Dolce & Gabbana with Scarlett Johansson. And on the right, you see the image. And on the left, you see the image with the heat map on it. So as you can see, in this specific case, most of the attention goes to the face of the celebrity and not to the brand name or to the product. What does it mean? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? How do we interpret these data? More about this, again, in my course on digital metrics.
Roman, just sorry for interrupting you, but can you just shortly explain how you actually measure the heat map? What tools do you use or marketers do use when they're...
Eye tracking, I've just said that. It's eye tracking tool, sender and receiver of infrared light.
Okay.
This is how we generated these heat maps.
Super interesting. Thank you.
Of course, in 20 minutes, I can do just a little bit, so I cannot go into details.
Sure.
Another important output that we get from the eye tracking device is the gaze plot, which allows us to understand the sequence of fixation points related to a specific marketing stimulus. As you can see in this picture, this is a project we did for Intesa San Paulo for their new website. And this allows us to understand what is the first fixation point, the second fixation point, the third fixation point, and so on. The size of each circle basically illustrates the duration of the fixation point. And again, how companies and how we as researchers can use this information will be a topic for my lectures that will be discussed in my lectures. Another very important neuromarketing method that we use are the biometrics. These are consumers' physiological responses to our marketing actions. For instance, we use this very fancy, simple but very fancy tool, a shimmer. It's called a galvanic skin response device, which measures your galvanic skin response, basically your sweating. Since this process is driven by your autonomous nervous system, so it's outside our conscious awareness, but it's related to the intensity of your emotional response. So the more aroused you are, the more emotionally engaged you are in something, the higher your level of arousal is. And as a result, the physiological response of that is that you sweat more. And with this little device here, we can detect the subtle changes in your galvanic skin response, since sweating is water, and then water conducts electricity, basic physics. Then with these two simple electrodes that we place on your middle finger and index finger, we can detect these small changes, these small differences in electrical conductivity, and this allows us to infer something about your emotional arousal. The other dimension that we usually use to measure the emotional response of our consumers, and by the way, emotions are unconscious. Emotions, there is no way to measure emotions on a conscious level. What we can measure on conscious level with self-reported measures are the feelings, but not the emotions. Emotions can be measured only on unconscious level, only with these neuromarketing tools. So emotions, we usually measure on two dimensions: arousal, which is the intensity of the emotion, and this we can measure with the galvanic skin response device. The other dimension is the valence of the emotional response, which goes from negative to positive. And this valence we can measure with the heart rate variability. I mean, when you're more excited, when you're more, when you like something, your heart is beating faster, it pumps more blood that is needed to either perform some specific action. So this heart rate variability we can measure with a small instrument that we place on your wrist. I mean, you can see it, it's like an Apple Watch. So we place it on your wrist, and we can use this device in order to measure your heart rate variability. By combining these two, by combining the galvanic skin response, which measures the emotional arousal, and the heart rate variability, which measures the balance of your emotional response, we can get a complete picture of your emotional response to any marketing we are interested in. Next, we move to the hard stuff, the real neuromarketing methods. And these are the electroencephalography, the so-called EEG, and the functional magnetic resonance imaging, which are the only two tools that we have in our neuromarketing toolbox that allows us to measure the brain responses of consumers to our marketing actions. EEG is the only direct tool, the only neuromarketing method that allows us to measure your brain activity in a direct way. Why in a direct way? Because the way your brain works is that you have the billions of these small neurons, the one that you see on the image. And the way these neurons communicate inside your brain is by firing electrical chemical impulses at each other. Okay, so they fire then, and they receive electrical chemical impulses from other neurons. And this is how your brain works. So even now, if we place an electrode on top of your scalp, we can detect electrical activity. I'm not going to go into details because I mean, I did a PhD on that, so it will definitely need more than a course in order to understand how your brain works. But to put it in a simple way for you, we managed to kind of find a specific measures, brain measures that allows us to kind of connect your brain activity, any brain activity, consumer brain activity, to specific constructs that we are interested in relation to marketing objectives. I mean, again, these are attention, emotion, memory, and purchase intention, if we have to stick to the four main key constructs. To give you an example, frontal asymmetry, this is a measure that we can obtain by applying the EEG method. It's a brain response that we measure in the alpha frequency band between 8 and 12 hertz, electricity, hertz, amplitude. So again, basic physics here. Broadly speaking, a left relative to right frontal activity indicates a positive emotion or approach behavior, something that consumers like, something that consumers will be willing to purchase, and a relatively right frontal compared to left frontal activity in the prefrontal hemisphere indicates a negative emotion or a withdrawal, or it basically means that consumers see or consume something that they do not like. Finally, magnetic resonance imaging is the final tool, neuromarketing tool, that I will present today. It's the only one that allows us to access the subcortical parts of your brain, the ones that are below the cortical surface. These are, let's say, the ancient structures that still play a major role in the way we act and the way we consume brands, products, and services. These activations in these subcortical brain regions can be only accessed and measured with this device, with the functional magnetic resonance imaging. And to give you some examples on the image, you can see some of these structures and how they relate to processes that are important for consumer behavior. Finally, to end this lecture, I will just tell you that there is no single method or single measure that is the best, that is the one. Doesn't exist. Usually in academia, but also when we work with companies, we tend to combine more than one method and more than one measure. And we do that because each measure and each method, it has a different strengths, different weaknesses, different advantages, different disadvantages. So depending on some factors, and the most common factors that we looked at in order to decide how many methods and how many measures to use and to combine are three major factors. First, the budget. If a company has a small budget, then we have a very limited choice of methods and measures that we can use. So budget is the first thing. Second thing is objective. Let's say if your objective of your marketing campaign is to create awareness, basically attract consumers' attention, then most likely you will be using an eye tracking device in order to evaluate and predict the effectiveness of your marketing action. If your objective is effect, memory, or desirability, then you can use other methods and other measures. I mean, this is a table that pretty much kind of summarizes all the methods and all the measures and the different constructs that you can measure with them. So again, we said the budget you have or the company has, I mean, you as a researcher, because we as a researchers, we also have limited budgets. The budget you have, you as a researcher, or the company that you will be working with. The objective, your objective, or the objective of the brand or the company that you will be working with. And again, the time. I mean, most of the time, companies want the results now, within a week, within 10 days. So if this is what they ask from you, then again, you're kind of limited in terms of what methods and what measures you can use, because some of them, especially the ones that are related to the brain activity, they require more time. The data are more difficult to analyze, and then the interpretation of these data requires more time. So we said budget, objective, and time. This is the three most common factors that you need to consider, both as a researcher, academic researcher, but also as a marketing consultant, in order to understand which methods and how many methods you need to combine in order to achieve your marketing research objectives. So that's from me. I don't know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Professor. What I wanted to ask, actually, because these digital programs are quite a new thing, what would be the ideal profile of a student that should enroll to a marketing? Because now during your presentation, we saw many different fields that it's not only marketing, it covers also
psychology.
Psychology, neuroscience.
So broadly speaking, in marketing, you have two main streams. One is a quantitative stream and the other one is consumer behavior. So what I've presented is the one that is more focused on consumer behavior. If somebody tells you that marketing is about
social media,
creating fancy ads, you're wrong. The marketing of today is 95% data driven. So it's all about data.
Okay.
Interested in data, if you like numbers, if you like statistics, if you like to work with statistics and with numbers, marketing is for you. If you don't like numbers and if you don't like statistics, you need to find something else.
Okay, I think that's very important thing because while working with students and when they have some ideas about marketing, they always connect it with creativity or, as you said, fancy ads, but it's more about numbers. Definitely.
It's not about this. I mean, it's data-driven. It's data-driven. Nowadays, the marketing 2.0, it's data-driven. So most of the time we work with data, qualitative and quantitative data.
Okay. Should they have any basis from marketing, or what should be the background of a student?
No. There no. I mean, with the first courses, we basically start from zero. So nothing in particular. I mean, there is no need for like a specific. There are no previous like prerequisites that are needed in order to attain the courses.
Okay. Thank you very much for this session. It was very interesting, and I personally learned a lot about marketing, which is definitely what we don't see. It's completely the behind the scenes job. But I hope the students will find it interesting as well. And then do we have your approval to post it on our YouTube channel and send it to other students who showed interest in the session, or we should keep it private?
You need to ask about the university. So I'm not the one that is deciding on this. Of course, if you ask me, I'm totally okay with it. Okay. But again, the university has its own policies. So if LUISS agrees with that, I'm okay as well.
Okay. Thank you for your time. And I hope you will see our students in the beginning of the next school year.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye.
You too. Bye. Dragi studenti, nadam se da vam je ova sesija bila interesantna. Za sve informacije vezano za Univerzitet LUISS, digitalne programe koje nudi, za sada 2, to su online programi dvogodišnjih Master of Science studija. Možete nam se obratiti putem društvenih mreža, info@viacademica maila ili putem broja telefona. Tu smo za vas i sve naše usluge, prvobitno savjetovanje sa mentorom su potpuno besplatne. Iskoristite ovu priliku, još uvek su otvoreni rokovi i veliki izbor stipendije koje su na raspolaganju, tako da ako vam se svidelo ovo što ste danas čuli, definitivno je dobar početak da zakažete savjetovanje sa našim mentorima. Do nekog sledećeg puta, puno vas pozdravljam u ime celog tima VIA Academic.